military conflicts don't even get death tolls that high that quickly. I think if you look at the numbers from Gaza, I think it took about 2 weeks for the death toll to reach around that 6,000 number. And that's a military conflict. This guy's an actual demon. But he's not even a good demon. He's not like an impressive demon. He's just he's like a smarmy, fucking miserable, smug, lying worm cunt. Regime change will happen in Iran. It's not a question of if, it's just when and what kind. Because the Ayatollah currently does not have a solid successor. He doesn't have a successor who has any of the same level. Like, none of the other Ayatollahs have the level of prestige or popularity or public support or whatever, and even internal support to be a successor. And he's an old man, and you can tell he's kind of insane because he spent the entire fucking protest period moving around between bunkers, crashing out on Twitter and saying the dumbest shit, flailing about Trump. God damn it. Okay. Trump warns Iran time is running out for a nuclear deal, a US military buildup in the Gulf. Well, yeah, he keeps saying massive armada. Don't be fooled by the wording. By the way, remember, a massive armada, it still pales in comparison to the size of movements that they were making before the 12-day war. In any case, they're still moving things. They're moving aircraft carriers and anti-air as well, like air defense stuff. So there does seem to be a growing consensus among the military community, especially in Israel and America, that it's inevitable, that something's going to happen. But who knows? Again, as far as the protesters go, and I'll say this again, it feels like the moment's passed. Protesters are the extent of the protests are probably not going to grow back to what they were before the crackdown. That crackdown has, again, Harana, which is the much more conservative one that has to get verification from the country, from the hospitals by name and everything. The death toll was 5,000 last time I checked. Now it's 6,300. They're still investigating another 17,000 reported deaths or alleged or people reported missing and stuff like that. But again, these guys are using very, very conservative methods. Like, they're basically waiting until they can get a confirmation, like from the morgue or from people who have seen the reports or like death certificates or whatever else. It's so many. Remember the Ayatollah gave his speech not as the protest started. The protest started on the 28th. The Ayatollah didn't talk until like 2 weeks afterwards. And before that, the approach initially from the regime was to try and talk to the protesters, and they tried to give them that $7 handout, and they tried to make it seem like there was dialogue and they were taking it seriously. But then when that didn't work, then the Ayatollah gives his fucking speech about retribution and they're all Israeli American funded or whatever else, and then the massacres happen. And they didn't even take that long. Like, that crackdown lasted in full force the best part of a week, maybe even less. So it's so many fucking protesters killed in such a short space of time. It's actually insane. On an unarmed protest movement of your own citizens. It's so beyond the pale. Like, how often does that happen? How often do you have a protest and within a week, 6,000 people are killed, at least? It's fucking mental. Actually, what were the Red Cross? What they said about how many people might have died in the Tiananmen Square massacres? Like 2,000? Especially nothing by Iranian history, even. This is even by Islamic Republic history. This concentration of deaths in this space of time is new. It's massive. It's a genocide. I don't think the Ayatollah has genocidal intent against his own people. I don't think he's targeting them because they're fucking Iranian. Like, you don't have to do that. I mean, it's insane is what it is. It's just an insane fucking, in 2026, like, on domestic, on mostly unarmed protesters, like almost all of them are unarmed. God. I don't even know how the armed groups that would have been involved in this would have been like the Kurds. Or maybe people who were able to wrestle some weapons off of security forces or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. There is still the potential for a strike. It's okay. One thing we do know is really up to Trump, really, because Trump's drawn his line now on a nuclear deal. There's not going to be a nuclear deal. There will absolutely not be a nuclear deal. If there is one, it will be the most formality fucking both sides putting up a front deal you've ever seen. We don't even actually know if those executions were halted, by the way. The ones that Trump thinks that he halted with his warnings a couple of weeks ago, we don't actually know if they were halted. Because there have been statements from Islamic Republic officials who are claiming that actually quite a few hundred people were executed. We don't know because I think the internet blackout is still there. I think it's been loosened a little bit, but the blackout is still ongoing. Like the information deficit is so massive. I haven't actually even seen that much footage from these protests. Obviously, loads of people will have been filming it. And the big thing that's going to happen now is that once that internet blackout is lifted, people are going to start uploading those videos. A lot more videos are going to get uploaded or sent to the press and verified and all that other stuff. Ew. I don't know. I really don't know what the plan is. Is there even a plan? Is there a plan from Trump on this? Probably not. Just, it's so atrocious. Yeah, like there's been a few people who have been involved, have done interviews as well, talking about how they didn't want to go to a hospital despite the fact that they were shot or they had these pellet wounds as well. Because they knew that the regime were going to hospitals. The regime were going to hospitals and inspecting people's wounds or asking doctors to tell them what kind of injuries a patient had and threatening their lives as well. So I think this is the kind of thing that we're not going to know the full extent of again for as long as the regime lasts, really. But that's the updated death toll as of today, 6,301 from Harana. But another 17,000 still being investigated. At least another 11,000 seriously wounded. Not to mention however many were slightly wounded. God. It's so much. It's so much for a domestic protest of your own citizens when they're unarmed. Don't really know what else to say about that. New videos emerge.
We start this hour of the programme focusing again on Iran and new footage that's emerging of the unprecedented crackdown on protests earlier this month. The internet blackout is now patchy after weeks where a total shutdown made it incredibly difficult to establish what was going on. Well, each new glimpse gives us an idea of the horror and also the scale of what has happened. The US-based human rights group says it has confirmed the killing of nearly 6,000 people since the unrest began, and it's investigating another 17,000 reported deaths. Meanwhile, a US aircraft carrier has arrived in the region, raising the possibility that President Trump may follow through on his threat of military action against the Iranian regime. More on that in a moment. First, though,
I've seen people report that the guys shooting them were teenagers. That would not surprise me in the slightest. The people in the IRGC, again, I've said this a million times, the IRGC, as basically in fear of losing power, about a generation ago, decided that they were going to invest very, very large amounts on indoctrination and education of their members. This goes back decades of them making this effort, which is very good. If you it's very good if you want to deal with protesters because they will show no mercy, because they are the most, like the third generation of the IRGC is the most radicalized generation since the revolution. They are easily the most radical ones. They're so radical that they actually go against the movement as well. They go, like the Ayatollah, every presidential election has a preferred candidate, but even the youth wing of the IRGC, even they sometimes think it's not good enough. It's not extreme enough. Yeah, they are, especially when Pezeshkian has been trying to do this whole thing right now about dialogue and discourse with the protesters, and we're part of a democracy and all this shit, despite the fact that all of the members of parliament can be vetted by the Supreme Council. And yeah, it's like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. It wouldn't surprise me at all if most of the people who did these killings from security forces were really young. because they are the ones who have basically had more time and energy and resources invested into their indoctrination than anyone else. People are claiming, again, I don't know what to make of this. People are claiming that the protests are starting again, but I have no idea. I have no way of knowing why this guy thinks this is even from this day or whatever, but yeah.
Look in more detail about what is emerging from Iran. Merlin Thomas from BBC Verify was telling me more about the video footage she's been seeing.
These are videos that have recently emerged online, and we've been able to verify these, and they give us an idea of what's happening inside the country. So, for example, we've seen protesters evading Iran's heavy surveillance infrastructure by disabling CCTV cameras. So you can see someone climbing up onto the post, disabling that camera, damaging it, and you can see crowds cheering on below and cheering as that camera...
Pretty messed up. What do you do with these people if the regime falls? If this is just footage, I'll just play it mute. If the regime fall, the fact is, and this is not my own opinion, I've read this from, I can't remember, I think it was Foreign Affairs or Foreign Policy, I always get those two mixed up. Regime change is happening in Iran with or without protesters and with or without American bombs, right? Regime change will happen in Iran. It's not a question of if, it's just when and what kind. Because the Ayatollah currently does not have a solid successor. He doesn't have a successor who has any of the same level. Like, none of the other Ayatollahs have the level of prestige or popularity or public support or whatever, and even internal support to be a successor. And he's an old man, and you can tell he's kind of insane because he spent the entire fucking protest period moving around between bunkers, crashing out on Twitter and saying the dumbest shit, flailing about Trump. He doesn't have a solid successor. So the problem is that if you've got this increasingly radicalized generation of IRGC youth who don't really identify with the pragmatists who are dominating the movement right now, who are dominating the regime change that happens is going to either be by protesters or with or without Western help, or it's going to be probably like a military junta even. It would be the youth of the IRGC. It would be them taking over. They're the ones who are armed. They're the most radical. They're the ones who are clearly willing to go to the ends of the earth. It's not difficult for them to keep an ideological consistency because they just basically follow their own indoctrination to the letter. So it's not going to be difficult for them to be cohesive within themselves. So that's what we have if the Ayatollah goes. If the protesters don't succeed, the next regime change will probably be some takeover from the IRGC youth. It'll just be which would basically just be like a military dictatorship, like a military junta. So, I mean, there's that to look forward to, I guess. Shit. What's this guy saying?
Satellite images of Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is where America's Central Command has its forward HQ. That was the site struck by Iran in retaliation last year, although it was a very limited...
Would the military oppose an IRGC takeover? Based on what I've seen now, the regular forces of Iran don't seem to they don't seem to really... Yeah, I think they would. No, I don't know if they would oppose it. I don't know if they really have a very strong allegiance to over who? The protesters? Probably not. Like a civilian wing of moderates, quote unquote, who are going to all be blamed. Because remember, it's junta with a J. Oh, sorry. Gotcha. Nice one. Yeah, no, remember, the moderates of the IRGC are the ones who were in power when this happened. In power, at least insofar as being the president is any power, like Pezeshkian. Like, because his whole shtick is to say, yeah, we have discourse. You know, we have democratic engagement. We listen to the people. Like, that's his whole position, right? And also, we want to try to not go into a full scale war with the West right now. Like, we don't want to. Well, we don't actually want like a war to end all wars in the Middle East. So those people are, they're going to get blamed for the uprisings by the extremists. I don't know how they win that argument, though. I don't know how they fight against that.
and almost telegraphed retaliation. Al-Udeid, the pictures now show it has many more air defense batteries on that site. So America's capacity to absorb retaliation is greater. But what I would also add is that we are likely to see a much bigger Iranian response than we did last time. That was a strike against Iran's nuclear program. There was a sort of relative restraint in Iran's reply. This time round, if the regime feels that the political survival of the regime is at stake, if Ayatollah Khamenei's life is at stake, you may see a much more aggressive response. And don't forget, if they're going after Gulf countries, not just Israel, they have many more missiles of that relatively shorter range that can reach countries like the UAE or Saudi Arabia or others relative to reaching Israel. And I think that's one reason you see Gulf Arab states saying, we don't want our airspace used, we don't want to be part of anything that's happening here.
Shashank Joshi talking to me a little earlier. Let's speak live to Mahmoud Amiri Moghadam, who's from the Iran Human Rights Organization. He joins me live from Oslo. Thank you so much for being here on the program. You, throughout the last few weeks, have been keeping a really close eye on what is happening, the video that's emerging, and, of course, the death toll. What is your current assessment?
Yes, you see, as you said, we have never seen something like this before. Iran Human Rights has been working to document violence inside Iran, death penalty, protest crackdowns. We have never seen something like this. All the information that we receive, witness testimonies, all the evidence indicates that we have been facing a mass killing of unprecedented scale against the protesters the 2 nights, Thursday and Friday, to some extent on Saturday. Basically, what we see is that it has been widespread, all the corners of the country, even the smallest town. If there has been a protest there have been reports of killings. And it has been systematic. They have been using military-grade weapon, and with the intention of killing. We have had several witness testimonies saying, talking about wounded protesters being shot to make sure that they are dead. So,
yes, we've seen video as well at BBC Vera.
Did Kalinsky say anything about the massacre? I don't know why we care, but I can find out for you as your information machine. Latest. January 27th. Trump is going to attack Iran to distract from the growing revolt over his Gestapo murdering innocent Americans. Apparently he spoke to Michael Knowles on Iran in January 15th. January 6th. The protest started on the 27th of December. It's all just about Trump bombing Iran. Don't think he's had anything to say about the protesters, at least on Twitter. Maybe his channel is different, but we can see, actually. Secular talk. Why does it have to be Iran versus ICE? Dude, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Well, apparently 8 years ago, he had protesters calling for revolution in Iran. 8 years ago. Is there a latest option here? Oh God, they're going to bomb Iran again. Iran strike imminent. I don't think he's mentioned protesters this time, has he? Or at least not in his titles, maybe. It's in the video. Okay, since you asked the question.
All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I hope everybody out there is having an awesome day. Right off the bat here, let me tell y'all, I will be on Piers Morgan's show today.
Let's
I'm gonna
go.
be debating Venezuela and Greenland and ICE. You don't want to miss it, so come check it out and show your boys some love in the comments. I would deeply appreciate that. So come check it out today. Drops on Piers Morgan's channel today, and I hope y'all can tune in. So we got that. I also got a million things to get to right now, bro. I mean, we are jam-packed in this show. So let me go ahead and lay it out for you right off the jump. Report, it appears like an Iran attack is imminent. It looks like it's imminent. So I'll give you all the evidence for that. I warned you that this thing wasn't over. When they tried to pretend like it was over and they called it the 12-day war, the very first thing I said was, not a chance. We're not even close to done with this thing yet because they want regime change. That's what they want. So we'll talk about that. We also have, apparently ICE agents are terrified and their families are threatening to disown them and the agency is struggling and collapsing. And so the pushback in Minneapolis is actually working. So we're going to talk about that. We also have the leaked video where Trump was caught flipping off a Ford worker and saying fuck you to that guy because that guy dared to tell the truth. Wait until you hear about the backlash to that story and the consequences for that story. Absolutely incredible stuff. Nick Shirley was on Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan and apparently Nick Shirley has the IQ poster, so we'll be making fun of him viciously. Then later on we'll get to
Nick Shirley. Oh God, what a fucking lunatic, man. I can't, man. Nick Shirley is the reason they're in Minnesota right now, right? The reason that 2,000 extra wankers got sent to Minnesota. That's because of Nick Shirley's fucking video, right? That's the only reason. God, that's so crazy.
Joe Rogan struggles over the ICE murders. He doesn't know what to say. He's clearly waffling. He's a mess. So we'll dive into that. And of course, Bill Burr has completely and utterly fallen off since he sold out to Saudi Arabia. And you do not want to miss that. He is an absolute mess, y'all. He is a mess. So we'll dive into that as well. So you guys know the drill, man. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time. It costs you nothing at all. If you click that bell icon right there, that makes a big difference because then you get a notification every time we drop a video. And of course,
yeah, I don't think there's I don't see any pictures or footage of protesters. Oh wait, help us on the way.
back in the show, we shoot the shit. We take some super chats. We have fun. We laugh. So don't miss that. Go sub the Corn World. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and jump right into. So big deal. Trump came out the other day and tweeted the following: Iranian patriots keep protesting. Take over your institutions. By the way, I'm getting flashbacks to January 6th with the way he's talking here. Save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters.
Okay, good start. January 6th flashbacks, you say? Okay.
Stops. Help is on its way. MAGA. So of course, him saying MAGA here is him trying to say like make Iran great again. But it's kind of funny because he's been accused of doing MAGA over MAGA, but by that we mean make Israel great again. He seems to be super serving Israel and giving them whatever the hell they want.
Oh, okay.
So now he says MAGA for make Iran great again. And of course, his idea of making Iran great again is to bomb the ever-loving shit out of them. Either bomb them or do some sort of targeted assassination or some SEAL Team 6 bullshit. We don't know, but it appears like something's happening because he literally just said help is on its way. What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, it's ominous. What it is ominous. Okay, more.
Miga is hungry, Kyle. Miga is hungry. Fuck me.
Now, this is something to really keep your eye on, y'all. It appears like what's happening here is the U.S. virtual embassy in Iran is saying, leave Iran now. They're doing all these emails and, the communications behind the scenes. They're basically saying, hey, something might happen to you if you don't get out now. Which, again, the way most people are reading that is it's a warning that we're going to do something to attack Iran, and then there's going to be them attempting to get retribution and revenge. So get your ass out because you could be on the receiving end.
This is January 14th. It's probably also because there's going to be a brutal crackdown that's already been in play. Okay. Yeah, I don't think he gives a fuck about the protesters. I think it's just about, or he's just tactically not taking a position on it because his audience is probably divided on whether or not they're all Israel America funded and whether it's like just a bunch of royalist bastards or the people who support them. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck. It's not like Kyle is like undisciplined with his fucking uploads or anything like that. Like if there's the issue he cares about, you'd see it on the front page. Oh well. At least that's my cursory glance. Maybe there's something I missed somewhere, but okay.
Verify of snipers on the top of buildings. You mention the wounded because we've also been hearing terrible accounts from people inside hospital who've been wounded and their families saying they are then executed. Are you hearing those stories as well as doctors being arrested for helping and treating people?
We have heard those stories as well. Both patients or wounded protesters who have been taken out and then their bodies have been given to the families. And of course, a lot of information in the first days came through the hospitals. And I think this is the reason behind the crackdown against the, nurses, against doctors. And the families are under tremendous pressure as well. They are being threatened, intimidated, because now that the internet is gradually coming back, they don't want the world to know what actually happened. So, but we receive reports every day. And I think that this is probably the biggest protest massacre of our time. And I really hope that the international response will be proportional to it.
Well, we shall see. That part of the equation remains.
I'm trying to think even historically, when do you see protests where 6,000 people get massacred? Minimum. Where do you... Vosh watched the makeshift flamethrower. Yeah, we saw that. That was good. That was funny. So Tiananmen Square, that was a couple of thousand, I think, higher Red Cross estimates. That just took like a couple of days. But where do you get a protest massacre that results in 6,000 dead? Ancient Chinese history. Yeah, no one cares about ancient history, though. Yeah, I'm sure some fucking dynasty, one of the dynasties, or all of them, or the Mongols. Yeah, I'm sure in there you're gonna find some massacres of protesters. But yeah, large scale killing thousands of protesters in a crowd. That's not normal. I don't think people understand. They appreciate how not normal that is. Like, I'm trying to think of other examples though. January 6th. I'm sorry, I'm joking. The massacre of Ashley Babbitt. Fuck. God.
Unclear. Let me ask you 2 or 3 final thoughts in one.
How many died in Maidan? The Arab Spring. Was there ever like the Arab Spring led to, I guess there were civil wars. But when there were protesters, was there ever like a massacre of thousands of protesters in the Arab Spring? Obviously Assad killed like 500,000 people in the fucking civil war, but Libya had crackdowns, yeah. But I don't recall the Benghazi, that was 200 people roughly, wasn't it? The massacre in Benghazi. This was this was 2011, more than 200 people. United States of Ayatollah Khamenei. Fuck me. That's what the answer needs to be, right? Literally. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. He's only gone and done it again. Anti-ICE agitators are threatening the families of our law enforcement. We will hunt these sickos down and put them behind bars. Apparently they have like some fucking voice recording of...
Hope your mom and dad die. You're a fucking fascist pig. You should fucking...
I know where this is from. This is the guy who was calling that fucking congressional candidate.
Kill yourself. I hope your wife dies. I hope your mom and dad die. I hope everything wrong that could go in your life happens. I hope you have the most miserable life. I hope you get hit by a bus. I hope you're paralyzed and your wife leaves you and starts getting by BBCs every day. You are a traitor to the American people, to the values that made our very country. You should kill yourself. You're fucking disgusting. I hate you. Everyone hates you. You're a fucking murderer. And all of your friends are
Oh, I don't think this is the same guy. I think it's just, apparently it's from ICE officers. Okay.
murderers. And your bosses are a bunch of pedophiles. Kill yourself. You're a fucking fascist pig. You should fucking kill yourself. I hope your wife dies. I hope...
Kind of based. But of course, Mr. Piker, first of all, why the fuck would you say this is a fake phone call? You really don't think American people are... We saw that guy leaking his fucking voicemail. That congressional candidate. Yeah, people are fucking mad. What the fuck? Staging fake phone calls to present your unlawful military as the victims as you kill civilians. Where have we seen this before? Dude. I'm sorry, if you're talking about murdering protesters, I'm sorry. It's not Israel. It's the United States of Ayatollah Khamenei, okay? I'm sorry. You can't get around it. What a fucking idiot. Unbelievable. Why is he so in love with fucking Israel, man? Jesus Christ. It has nothing to do with Israel. Like, it's got nothing to do. It's so disconnected, man. It's so disconnected. For the cops, they can say, "Oh well," because like 100 of them in the last 20 years have done training shit in the fucking with the Israelis. They also train with the United Kingdom, and they also train with Jordan, and they also train with quite a few other countries that are actually not very nice to protesters. But isn't the problem with ICE that they're not even fucking trained, or they're barely trained? Like, isn't the problem with ICE that they're not even like... They're not even at the standard of American law enforcement officers. Like, they're way below it. That's why we're seeing so many of these fucking incidents in such a short space of time. Is he comparing this to the IDF calling to warn people of bombing? No, he's comparing this to intercepted phone calls of Hamas officials or soldiers where they're saying things like, "Oh yeah, that rocket that we fired actually hit us." Whoops. Yeah, because that's an unbelievable. There's no way a Hamas guy would ever say that the rockets that are known for misfiring misfired. Rip.
go. Do you have any clear idea of what is currently happening on the ground in terms of the way this protest has been snuffed out? Can you also tell me how high do you think the death toll could get to? And do you have any sort of numbers on the amount of people who've been detained?
Well, these are all difficult questions. What is happening now is that our assessment is that Islamic Republic is trying to establish a terror state. Now people are in shock. They have been traumatized, but they want to give them such a shock and terror that they don't stand up again. But we hear about arrests. The mass arrests are still going on. We are extremely concerned about death sentences. I'm sure that we will be hearing about executions in near future. This is one of the main concerns, and of course, I think that I just forgot your second question.
Just in terms of quite how high the final death toll might go.
You see, the way we work, I don't think we will be able to give an exact number, but based on what we have heard of evidence and testimonies and the picture that we have, I don't think the highest numbers in the media are unrealistic.
Well, that is a chilling thought. Also, the point you made right at the start of the interview that what we have seen over the last few weeks is totally unprecedented in terms of scale. Mahmoud Amiri Moghadam, thank you once again for talking to us here on BBC News. We're grateful for your time.
Didn't we talk about 30K the other day? I'm so confused. Because there is a media blackout and an internet blackout, there's not even a health ministry in Iran that's going to give you official figures. So the problem is that groups have to basically go by collecting statements from doctors, high-profile cases, or confirmation from hospitals, or putting them together. That's why you've got Hirana, who are investigating 17,000 deaths on top of the 6,300 confirmed. And that number confirmed went up that keeps going up. So they are investigating. Like those 17,000 investigate, I think those are actually reported deaths. So the thing with Hirana, the problem there is that even the methodology is hard to get as well from these groups, because Hirana, as far as we know, their full methodology isn't public because it would jeopardize the sources, because they basically are having to confirm with people on the ground and to get multiple confirmations. So that's what their spokesperson said. That's as much as they're willing to divulge. And they're the more conservative group. So yeah, that 6,000 number is confirmed, as far as I know, by name and by full, as undeniable as you can get. Like, two health ministry officials in Iran leaked the 30K number. Yeah, so again, you just the problem is that you kind of, and Gaza kind of did this as well, is that officials saying things, or doctors saying things, or maybe even a state person saying something, the problem is that people saying things to the media is obviously going to carry less weight than an organization that's confirming everything by name and being and actually trying to be beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So, but it seems by Hirana, then if they investigate those 17,000 extra deaths, then you've already got 23,000 fully confirmed, and that's the conservative number. That would be from them unless there are 17,000 people that just got reported missing and are actually not dead. But I don't think it's just reported missing though. Yeah, that 3,000 number is a total fucking dud number, though. Apparently that number has been used by the Iranian government for previous events as well. That's just a default number that they throw out because they don't obviously want to tell you the truth. It's the kind of thing that you'll never know the exact truth of until the regime falls. Because even for previous massacres, say in the 80s, the Iranian government has a database where you can look up gravestones and the names of people who have died and find their grave. That's the thing you can do. In Tehran, you can go to a graveyard and you can find a name on a grave, you can put it into the database, and it'll confirm where it is, by the coordinates. They'll tell you where to find someone's grave. The problem is that researchers who want to look into massacres of political prisoners in those days one of the methodologies that they use, because the regime won't tell you, is sometimes the regime would actually put out a press release and admit that they killed someone. They would actually just say, today we executed someone for treachery or for war against God or for corruption, i.e. being gay or whatever, and they would just publish it. The other thing that they use is they will find names on these graves that don't exist in the database. And there will be whole sites and whole sections of graveyards that have these names and suspicious telling dates, like they died in 1988 when they were 21 years old. But their name doesn't exist in the database. And they're like, well, that's probably someone who got fucking murked by the regime and then scratched from the database. So we still don't know full death tolls of massacres that the regime has taken part in 30 or 40 years ago. We still don't know. We don't know how many people died in those massacres in the 80s. We don't know. Like, I think estimates range between for the 88 massacre, estimates range between like 2 and 12,000. Like, it's a pretty broad fucking window, and it'll be the same with these protests as well. It might be easier to get closer to the real number today because of the internet, but again, there are lots of things that the regime can do to make sure that people don't find that out. So when people say 6,300 is your lowest estimate, there's a very good reason to believe that is absolutely as low as it could possibly be. Like, but the real number will probably be much higher. So, but we won't know. We won't know for a good wee while. In any case, I'll stress it again. There are not that many crackdowns of domestic protesters that result in 100 dead or 200 dead in the last 100 years. Even that level of killing of your own citizens for protesting when they are 99% of them are unarmed. That's so rare. That is unbelievably fucking rare. There are like landmark events in history where maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people have died, like Tiananmen Square. 6,300. That's in that space of time is insane. It's complete. It's not comparable to any. It's higher than military conflicts. Don't even get death tolls that high that quickly. I think if you look at the numbers from Gaza, even if you look at the health ministry numbers from Gaza, I think it took them a good week or two or maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, it would have taken more than. I think it took about 2 weeks for the death toll to reach around that 6,000 number, and that's a military conflict with bombs and planes and and soldiers on the other side. I can find the exact one if you want. Is this it? Yeah. Oh, it's in my Google Sheets. I forgot. I actually uploaded it this time. No, not that one. For reference, the Boston Massacre killed like 8 people. Yeah. And even America, like right now, they are quite rightly, I will say, up in arms about 2 people getting killed. Yeah, when a security forces kill your own people for protesting, it's a huge deal. It's a massive deal. This was the daily updated death toll. So there's the cumulative number here, October 7th, 230. They don't count the ones who died as they crossed the border, but 232, 370, 590. Yeah, how long does it take to get 6,000? October 7th to 24th. It takes just like what, 16, 17 days. And this is a military conflict to get this number. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It is a huge event. Like, it's a huge atrocity. All to keep your fucking shitty regime in power that no one likes. God. Okay. You said previously the default to 3,000. It's just when they're talking about other events. Apparently that number, that specific 3117, is something that has been used by the regime for Israeli conflicts in Gaza or whatever. Like they just throw that number out quite as a go-to. Or numbers injured in the 2019 protests or some shit like that. I can't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's not. I wouldn't take that very seriously. Donald J. Trump.
The mass protests may have been silenced by martial law, but their memory and the anger lingers as true pictures of the horror emerge. The human rights activist news agency says that they have verified the deaths of over 6,000 people and are investigating 17,000 more. President Trump's latest warning represents a
the reason they're laying out bodies on the streets, by the way, is because the morgues are they're too full. And then after the morgue, they would use spare rooms or empty spaces in the hospital that weren't getting used. And then they would go out to the streets.
Continuation of US pressure onto Iran over both its domestic
did they say 3,117 died of COVID? Okay.
Done on protesters and its nuclear ambitions. A massive armada is heading to Iran, he posted today. Hopefully, Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. The next attack will be far worse. When asked at a hearing in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this.
That's, I think, what you're seeing now is the ability to posture assets in the region to defend against what could be an Iranian threat against our personnel. They certainly have the capability to do it because they've amassed thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles that they've built. Despite the fact that their economy is collapsing, they keep spending money on that.
Iran has responded in kind to Trump today, saying Iran's response to any US strike will be immediate, all-out and unprecedented. This is the Armada on a previous occasion when it headed to the Gulf, now on its way again. The USS Abraham Lincoln, a fleet in its own right, almost at its destination. What happens then is up to the man who spent the afternoon selling a program of government handouts,
fucking piece of shit, man,
bearing his own name, before breaking into his favorite mercurial dance. Bizarre, but also consequential. Well, amid the escalating rhetoric, we've been speaking to a doctor inside Iran who reveals that injured demonstrators were being executed in their hospital beds while awaiting treatment. They've told us how security forces, including the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, entered hospitals and killed patients as they lay wounded.
When the US massacre Iran in a conflict? Yes. The Iranian spokespersons don't think so, though. God, there was that fucking guy. It's that professor. This guy's an Iranian professor who does all of their fucking public appearances. Marandi. Of course, Katie Halper is saying that he destroyed her over protest propaganda. God, what a fucking disgusting worm this person is. Okay. This guy is actually he's absolute scum of the earth. But I think at the end, when he was talking about the 12-day war,
on the first couple of days, there was no violence.
Hello, we're watching something now. Let me share screen. Yeah, this guy. God, this guy. I don't know, even know. I've never seen someone try so fucking little in propaganda. This is like, why are Iran and Israel just like mortal enemies, and they're both like the worst fucking state propagandists you could ever ask of our country?
Because their supporters don't really care about the truth, no? Like,
I don't know. I think if you're Iran, like you have nothing. Like
always hardcore support.
No, if you're Iran, you probably want to have like propaganda because you can't win any other war. Fuck.
Mm. Well, that's what I was going to talk about regarding. I was just going to say this on like dip. Like some of these leaders that they have, or these individuals, maybe they are so Islamist, I guess you could say, like so far into their belief that they think God would be on their side during a war with America.
I don't know that because again, like the thing with religious leaders is that they
are not really that religious.
Yeah, like the honest stories I hear about the regime and how fucking wet, like and how you'll have like a regime, like a top IRGC official who gets caught on fucking holiday with his family, getting married and like with the veil, with a wife with the veil off, and just having like hanging out in fucking bikinis at the beach and shit like that, and just living like fucking Western. Yeah, they're more like a mafia than a religious regime. But like, no, what you were saying with thinking God's on your side, but I don't even know if that's true, because even Khomeini was so tactical in how much he was willing to, and what he was willing to say to different parties to get their support or to get their at least their tolerance, right? Like, so he would say one thing to Carter and to that administration, he'd say another thing to the leftists, and he'd say another thing to the Islamists. Yeah, I think yeah, you can think God's on your side, but also think you have to be tactical. Yeah.
No, because I mean, there is a hadith. Maybe you could apply it to this type of thought process, which is like, it talks about the Prophet Muhammad and seeing someone not tie down his horse or camel, and he asks him why he doesn't tie it down, and he's like, "Oh, I believe in God to protect it," and he's like, "Well, tie it down, then you believe in God to protect it."
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So yeah. I hope Iran gets bombed to shit and less amount of civilians die, because I am tired, really tired.
Dog tired, eh?
Bro, you don't understand. Another war with Iran means 18 people in my room every night.
Yeah.
My room's the shelter.
You're gonna have to live in your shelter again. God.
Oh no, I live in my shelter. I just have more people in it.
Do you want that? Are you looking forward to that?
No, I don't want 18 people in my fucking room that has two desks, 4 computers. It's already cramped in here.
No, but what I mean is, like, are you willing to go through that again so that the regime
to get rid of Iran? Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, fucking hell.
I'll take the punishment. Like,
wait, do you think Iran could become Syria 2.0 or not?
No.
If it falls, no.
There's just like with which armed, like so in Syria you've got like everyone's fucking, the Kurds are armed, the Druze are armed, the fucking obviously the Sunnis, the Alawites are armed. Like, yeah, who the fuck's what's going to go on in Iran in that what, you know, the Kurds are going to fight with the Persians or what?
Maybe the small amount of Iranian Jews left in there would coup the government.
Yeah. Like the Inglorious Bastards, just running around the country, finding regime officials. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there would be like there would be a royalist versus a democratic movement that would fight, or maybe there'd be like a fucking maybe the IRGC would go into civil war, like with the radicals against the fucking pragmatists. I don't know.
I feel like it'd probably be more of a civil war. I think like with like the secret police, right? A little bit, like the internal factions in the Iranian government.
Yeah, but that would be a fairly bloodless civil war, because there's just not that many people in these factions. I don't know, but I don't know enough. Maybe I missed. Maybe I have a blind spot there. Fuck knows. What do you think, Momo?
On the fucking, I guess, the devotion part of the conversation. Like, I used to wonder, like, if there is any actual fucking people that support this shit and would risk death for it. But until I went to college, I didn't fucking encounter any IRG supporter. But lo and behold, every fucking person there that has, like, a public-facing account is a proud supporter. Fucking insane.
So, what's it like being in Iraq? Is it just not very common to have people in Iraq who are supportive of the regime? Because obviously, like, I mean, Iraq's majority Shia, so
it's complicated. Like, the people like the idea of the regime, but their practices are making it very fucking unpopular. Like, it's costing them their livelihood. It's devaluing our currency, hurting our economy, all that shit. So even if you support it on principle, it's fucking hurting you.
Do you? Actually, I don't know if you would want to answer this, but do you have any interaction with or any like? Yeah, do you ever have any interaction with the militias, like the Iran militias in Iraq, or is that just too far away from like your life?
I don't. I never like actually interacted with one of them. I have family members that used to fight with them during the ISIS war, but I don't know how they're doing right now.
So they're not like, they don't control whatever area you're in, right?
No, no,
Okay.
not really. But it's officially, it's they don't have to control it because it's like it's Karbala. You know Karbala?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they don't have to control it. It's already theirs.
Huh. I did not know that's where you. Okay. Just for the audience, that's where Hussein was martyred. They
Yes.
say. Yeah. Shit. See, I knew that. Mina, what's your story?
feel like okay, I too want Iran to get like at least the Iranian like regime to get absolutely decimated. My problem is there is no alternative like resistance group. There's no real opposition to actually take power if they do strike the Iranian regime hard. It feels like if they go as far as making sure that the Ayatollah is gone, that the IRGC is completely decimated and shit like that. It's just going to be a huge power vacuum that might get filled by other jobs.
Yeah, but who?
Well, we don't know. That's the issue, right? There's like no real group that could fill the boots of a government. It might just fracture Iran apart.
Like, how does this happen in other countries? Like, how did this happen in like fucking in parts of Eastern Europe when there were unarmed unarmed protest movements against the communist regimes? Like, what did they just? Is it really just the only way that this happens is that the military turns over, or just like the regime just gives up? Yeah, I don't know how that's expected to work.
Well, how many people died in those protests?
It depends on when. Like the Velvet Revolution was obviously not very violent at all, like because that's why it was called the Velvet Revolution. Even Iran, like how well armed were the Islamists when they took power in '79? I don't think they were particularly well armed. There was like guerrilla warfare a little bit, but
I'm just scared it will turn out like Afghanistan or something like that. Like I'm scared that
I don't think that will happen.
It will just fracture into regional, like, I don't know, warlords that take over and just fight each other constantly.
It's not. I've been to Iran. I don't think there is like this tribal culture there. It's not like that. I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know. This is like a huge, like, this is a fertile breeding ground for like ISIS. This is like
really
like
Iran.
Yeah. If there's
how many Sunnis are in Iran?
I'm not.
No, not like ISIS literally. I think she means just like
No,
some kind of
something that is similar, like extremists like that take the opportunity to take the power from the IRGC.
Can I say something? I don't know if I'm in. Am I in here?
Yeah, you're
I've never
here.
done this.
Yeah.
I just everyone seems to think that there's no opposition. I get it because like the media is not covering Reza Pahlavi, but I mean I've talked to Changal, I've talked to so many Iranians. He literally put out a call to go out in the streets the days that we saw those giant protests, and I mean like it was super divided before this, but like the Iranian people are super behind Reza Pahlavi right now.
I guess the question is like, how do you let's say they are like, what's the what do you call it? The Artesh, the armed forces. Like, how does he get control? How does he go from wherever the fuck he is now to actually being in charge of the state and the military? Like, how do you do that?
I mean, definitely not without U.S. intervention. You know, like I think that the second, it's like what we saw in Iraq during the U.S. invasions there. Like once there's an actual force that they have to contend with being shot and killed by, that they can't really compete with, then suddenly people start to switch sides. People start to, I mean, I really don't think it happens without some U.S. intervention.
Because that kind of intervention in terms of transition of government means like it doesn't just mean crowds rush into the buildings and take them over and the military just doesn't do anything. That means like boots on the ground, right?
Yeah, it means boots on the ground.
It would be like
happen.
No, it would be, I mean, so you could hit I was talking to my dad last night and he was, like, of course, this is just one person strategizing, but like you hit the military bases, you create like free zones, and the people can go out and get those guns. I mean, people are overthrowing Basiji stations, all sorts of things, but like if we can help them arm themselves, I think like the tide just needs a tip, like it just needs a nudge to get the people
also,
to see that there's an actual chance.
This should have been Israel's job, by the way. This shouldn't be the US's job at all. Like, they have all of their operatives in Iran. Like I'm talking about the Mossad here, right?
Hey.
They're the ones that are most active in Iran when it comes to like these kinds of services. I think Israel should be, well, I guess most of the Middle Eastern like countries that are against Iran should be the ones that should be responsible. But the problem is, most of the Middle Eastern countries are fucking retarded and do really fucking stupid shit and support the wrong fucking groups all the fucking time. And you'll always have like bad faith actors that just want a region to be destabilized so they don't have to worry about it. I just don't.
Absolutely, but like, how can Israel do it on their own? I mean, Israel's a really tiny country, and I mean, they're powerful only because of the U.S.
The main thing is that Israel is the one that is most at risk of Iran, right? They're the ones
Absolutely.
that, this should be like them finding a group that they can support. Look, the UAE is a fucking tiny country too, and they still find ways to support the RSF and shit like that.
Yeah, but the RSF, like
Yeah, but
the
they're
UAE
not
didn't create the RSF or arm them to begin with. The RSF were obviously they were armed by the government. It was the Sudanese government that gave the RSF their weapons to begin with, and their training and their privilege and their wealth and all that shit. So I don't know. Like the question I have is
I
like,
don't see how.
I wanted to know, because this is somewhere I can't find any answer to. Like, what I know the IRGC are who they are, and their young members are especially fucking crazy. What is the situation with the Artesh, like the Iran's conventional army? Like, do we know
A lot of them are
disillusioned or not, or
Well,
like where they would go?
a lot of them are just, they have like required service. So like a lot of them have been drafted. They're just doing their required time in the army, and I think everyone just doesn't want to die. And so like unless they know that they've got backing, unless they know that there's that there's something at the other side of this, someone supporting them, like they're not going to make the jump. People just don't do that.
Has there been any indication of that? Has there been any sign that they would turn up and drop their arms or side with the protesters or mutiny?
They haven't been using them as their main force to crack down on the protests, because I mean, my theory around that is because they know that if they push them too far, that they aren't going to follow orders. And then there is Reza Pahlavi, supposedly has 50,000 names of people and that are willing to defect, but they need support. And like the government isn't, our government, U.S. government isn't even strongly backing Reza Pahlavi yet. Trump he's a wild card. Like who knows if he'll even support him or if he'll try to put in some secondary, new Ayatollah.
I don't think he actually cares about regime change in Iran, personally.
I don't either.
All he ever talks about is like a deal and the nuclear weapons, and that's it. I don't
but
think
I'm starting to wonder what deal he's asking for, because they've been
any
calling
of the domestic politics that go on.
But they've been calling him nonstop. I mean, you know that they're trying to come up with something. I'm starting to wonder if that deal is surrender, because
Well, it depends. It depends, I guess, on what Rubio really wants. Isn't that right?
Rubio, I trust a hell of a lot more than Trump. I mean, he's not I would never would have voted for him or anything, but like he's not an idiot like
Yeah, he's
Trump.
not an idiot, but it also depends, like, on what he perceives as being the most advantageous for the US at any given time, regardless of whether it has horrible long-term effects or not.
But can you make one argument that the best thing for, like, name one country that a democratic Iran that doesn't want to fuck up everything for everyone in the world, like one reason that's not beneficial to everyone. On top of that, we've
In
been pretty
Iran,
open.
of course,
Take our
of
oil,
course, it
dude.
would
Take the
be.
oil, take the resources. We're not getting any of it.
Of course, it would be beneficial. The issue is that when we're talking like assets and resources and stuff like that, right? Trump is a very transactional man. If he doesn't get anything out of it, he's not going to do it, right?
But I'm telling you, he'll get peace in the Middle East. I mean, eventually, like, you remove Iran's funding for Hamas, you remove any pretext for Israel doing what they're doing for defense. You know, you remove. I mean, it fixes Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Russia,
I wouldn't necessarily say
Yemen.
that it fixes those things if you
Not immediate, not overnight, but I mean, how long can they keep it up when their main supporter is gone?
Well, it depends. It really depends. There's all
I mean,
kinds
it's our
of like.
best chance, right? I mean, can you agree with that?
Look, personally, I agree. I want the regime to be gone. Personally, I would see benefit in if they could if they could instate some kind of government that would be. I wouldn't even say liberal. I would say that they would at least care a bit about their own country in a way, right?
And just not trying to screw every other country over for the sake
Yes.
of power.
Yes, I agree with that. The thing is, like, is that happening realistic? You need to like look at it from the lens of like, I suppose Donald Trump. When he talks about Iran, he doesn't necessarily talk about anything that has to do with Iran or Israel or any of that. He talks about the nuclear weapons program. That's all he really cares about.
That's our biggest worry, but I mean, I think that there are smart people in his cabinet who are pointing out all of these things. I mean, I think that there's a reason why
but
we
there's
keep seeing
also
the
like, you know,
bluster.
this shit is not cheap. Moving an entire fucking carrier group from the South China Sea to the Middle East is not fucking cheap. Striking Iran is not fucking cheap. Using assets to help a group establish dominance in Iran is not fucking cheap. And the US has a whole range of more important problems that, like, if they
Like what,
actually
Venezuela? I mean, we went and did stuff in
No,
Venezuela,
I'm not.
and for oil, I'm saying that they'll get paid back. You know, they can have the oil. The people have been open, like, take what
Paid
you
back
want. We're not
how?
getting it, you know, by taking the oil, by mining, by good
we
relations,
need oil
trade.
companies to take the oil. And the oil companies know that this is a fucking region, just like in Venezuela. They don't want to invest in Venezuela. The oil companies know that this shit, they might just lose money if they invest in there. That's a fucking problem.
I just don't think it's quite as unfruitful as you're painting it. I mean, it's a resource. You can go beyond oil. You can go to
It's a resource, but
mining.
it's not a resource in a vacuum. This is not.
I guess the only
Oh,
argument
look,
that I
there's
think you're
fucking
making is
oil and
they could
nothing
make more
around it
money
exists.
continuing to sell
There's other
weapons or
factors
something.
to like. There's other factors to like when it comes to these resources and exploiting these resources. There's other factors that are like, okay, let's say we fucking topple the regime. What is the likelihood that whoever we're gonna instate is not gonna get toppled again? What's the fucking
I
likelihood
think
that
pretty high. I think it's really high. The Iranian people are like very much behind this. I mean, Reza Pahlavi has the Iran Prosperity Plan. It's very simple. It's essentially you'll elect a board, a group of people, some representatives to draft a constitution. It's 4 months. You present the constitution. If it fails, you get 4 more months to draft another one. If that fails, you elect a new group. you do that until you have a constitution, and then you hold elections, and then
I wish you're
we've
right.
learned from all of the hold on. We've
Yeah.
learned from the de-Bathification. We've learned from not having a plan. We've learned from, and yeah, America, in my opinion, is the wild card. Will they do it or will they won't? But Iran is not the wild card. Iran has done everything that they could possibly do to make this transition happen, and I think it's got a really good shot of working. I think the Iranian people we're not divided like Afghanistan. We don't have we're not nearly as factionalized. And the biggest part of Iraq was the de-Bathification. I mean, we took out everyone in their government. So what were they going to do? They had to create this from the ground up.
Yes, of course.
So I mean, none of those things are
I hope
really
you're correct. Look, from the bottom of my heart, I hope you're correct. I hope that the Trump administration is going to do the right thing, and I hope that there will be a group that will take power that actually cares about their country, cares about not fucking wasting resources and money in trying to destabilize the Middle East. I really hope that.
So what I would say is
really
just the wild card. You're saying the Iranians are the wild card and that we don't have a person that we're rallying behind. What I wanted to hop in and correct is that we absolutely do. When he put out the call to come out, he had 90 million views. It was in Farsi. Those aren't just a bunch of random people watching some Farsi video. We're like the only people that speak that language. They showed up. They killed so many of them, and then they cut off the internet.
Mm-hmm.
His next video had 6 million views, a little bit less, which is pretty much the population of the diaspora. So to say he doesn't have support in the country and that we don't have a leader who can transition this, that's the thing that is driving me nuts, that I'm hearing so much in these discussions and this discourse. The wild card is not Iran. It's not the Iranians. We have a plan, and we've been more unified
That's not
during these last month. The
That's
wild
not
card
even
is
what
Trump.
I'm saying.
But it is what you said at the beginning.
The wild card is not just Trump. The wild card are the other countries in the region as well, trying to stir the pot as well. There's a lot of other countries that just don't give a fuck, that are
Fair
okay
point, but,
with
I mean, who else are they
spending
gonna?
money in destabilizing a region just for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of worries, but I just don't really see us having much to lose. I think that, Trump's the wild card of will he or will he not support us? Will he not do it? And if he does, I mean, you talk about the rally around the flag effect. Everyone, if the US does something, the Iranians will rally. I think if we have the opportunity to take our country back, you talk about a rally around the flag. I mean,
Look, I hope, I really hope you're right. I hope all of the good things happen in Iran. I hope it's similar to Syria, where you have a government that can try to build up your country, and I really hope that that comes true. But until I actually see some significant movement with regards to that, I'm gonna keep my expectations low.
I just don't know what more significant movement you could ask for, on the part of Iranians. They're out in the streets, in the tens of thousands, being mowed down and slaughtered and paying in blood for the opportunity to just
I'm talking
try
about
to take their country back.
yeah, demonstrations are good and all, right?
These aren't
The thing is-
demonstrations. These are people smashing in
Yeah.
the doors of the Besieged. These are people taking over towns. Even if the US doesn't intervene, this regime's going to have to play whack-a-mole with the uprisings all over. I mean, we say all the time on the left that for every terrorist you kill, you create a family worth of them. These people, the Ayatollahs, the IRGC, they've created a monster that they will have to fight for the rest of their existence.
Yeah, but they've also created a group of really fucking radicalized extremists.
Yeah, of course, but
Yeah,
that's
so
maybe
you-
20% of the population. You got to look at
Yeah,
the last elections.
But the
There
problem
was a
is
huge
yeah,
there was a
the
huge movement to abstain from voting, and everyone keeps acting like we elected Pezeshkian. No, they put Pezeshkian forward because they knew they had no other opportunity, no choice.
Yes, I agree.
So when you look at those numbers, 80% versus 20%, and 20% voted, not all of them voted for the hardliner. Some of them did vote for Pezeshkian. So like, what are the real numbers of power in that country? The only reason they're in power is because they've got military grade weapons and they're willing to murder anyone. So just, like try to hold those numbers in your head and realize how thin their grasp on power really is.
It is thin. That's why I think the opportunity is now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. My problem is that if you look in other regions that have groups that are extremists, nobody can really control them, right? And they're not like, I'm not saying they're a huge chunk of the population, they're not. But that makes them even more difficult to get.
I think it's harder if they're sorry.
They embed themselves and they cause havoc in countries. They do terrorist attacks and all of that kind of shit. That's
But now
like,
imagine
and
that
you have the
that
IRGC that literally funded these kinds of groups for years and years and years and years, knows
Uh-huh.
their tactics, knows where to get the weapons from, and all of that. And then what's to stop them from having a fringe group like that?
a fringe
Just
group in what,
cause
one city versus the entire country? I mean, and then you imagine that the new military in Iran is going to be hunting them down. Not to mention that they've pretty much destroyed our natural resources to the point where there's almost no
Yes.
water. So where
Yeah,
are they
I
going to
know.
get water? I mean, they're going to eat bullets and drink sand. Like they're going to take over one town. Looks like they're, digging tunnels under Esfahan. So let's say they all retreat to Esfahan. The rest of the country is taken over. How long can they hold out like that? I mean, I agree. There's a lot of challenges. This isn't going to be easy, but like I
gonna
feel
be
like
hard.
you're only looking at the ways that it wouldn't work, and you're not looking at all the challenges
I'm not
to
saying
those
it
groups.
wouldn't work. I'm saying that there's a lot of things that are not really thought about when you're saying, yeah, we can do this, and this is a great
I don't know how
opportunity
they're
for
not
us
thought
to
about. I've had an answer for every one of those things. I've thought about this a lot.
What the
I think all the
extremists
Iranian people have thought about it.
extremist terrorist attacks are not something you can necessarily predict unless you have like insider knowledge, right? It's
I
like
don't really see that
really
point. I think that
really
like when I'm talking about the
hard.
numbers, like how much damage can they do as extremist terrorist groups on the fringe versus as the government? And what do we have to lose as Iranians?
What do you mean? If you have an extremist
You're
group,
saying that if this happens, we end up with a good government, the majority of the country stable, and a few fringe extremist terrorist groups, versus the government is an extremist terrorist group. I mean, that sounds a lot better to me. We'll take it.
the problem is that these extremist terrorist group will probably take over power of regional, like of regions in Iran. That's
I don't think
the whole
regions. I think
that's the whole
cities.
thing, right? They go, they embed themselves in an area, and then I don't know, they attack the military assets that are there. They attack the politicians that are there. They then place themselves in control of an area. They then on to another area. That's usually
You're assuming that
how
they
this is.
just keep taking and taking. Like they don't have that much
No,
power. They don't have
and
that much strength. They'd be insanely weakened, and then they're going to be facing they're going to be facing an entire army. They're going to be facing entire people. They don't have almost any support inside the country. I mean, a lot of those extremist terrorist groups, like, think of the IRA. They only were able to stay there because the people there supported them. Think of the Taliban and the Afghan Mujahideen. They only were able to stay in those mountains because the villagers supported them. If they're relegated to these little tiny villages, they'll be under siege. I mean, they don't have water, they won't have food. They will be on their back foot until they're just decimated. I mean, will there maybe still be extremist terrorist attacks? Will it happen overnight? No. But like I just don't see their power as strong as I think you seem to. You seem to think that they can just
because
keep on
I
fighting
see
no matter what.
Because I see other countries and see what's happening there with regards to terrorist attacks,
Which
terrorist
country?
groups. Which country? You could look at almost all.
Yeah, but
almost
not
all,
every country is equal, and not every country
no,
is
they're
the
not.
same.
The issue is that like you have other countries once again that are willing to invest in these groups to get them resources to hold out or
Who?
even gain more ground. What do you mean
Who? Iraq? I mean, like you're like what the UAE has money.
There's the UAE. You have any
Do you think
kind of other country that is
Afghanistan has a lot of
willing.
resources to give
Qatar
away?
could
Do you
even
think?
do it because Qatar is an absolute nut job of a country. Like
And then the
there's
U.S. can start sanctioning Qatar and the UAE, and when Iran's competing with them for tourism, for oil, for all of that stuff, you don't think that they're going to feel the
you have
impact of that?
Russia, you have China, they can do that too. Like
And that'll help. Well, Russia's going to have to pull out of, pull out of Ukraine. I mean, Russia's spread thin too. Their economy is in shambles. Like you just don't. You're imagining an infinite amount of resources from countries that are already spread thin and relying on Iran for those resources. If you remove that as
and
the resource,
they want to keep those resources. That's why they're willing to
but
go
they're
length.
taking, they're not giving. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not the supporters, they're the takers.
There's other ways to support a country. You can take the resources and give them other resources. What?
But I don't understand. Like how would
They want to
Hezbollah
keep the
support
oil that
the
Iran gives, for example. China wants to keep the oil that Iran gives them.
China's a
They're
fair
gonna
weather friend. They haven't backed up the regime when they're in trouble at all. I mean, if
No,
if they're not
I know
getting
that.
something,
I know that, but
they're not going to give anything.
but you have now, okay. You have the issues around Venezuela, which are fucking over China. You have now issues around Iran, which are gonna fuck over China. How many more fucking how many more fucking countries are they gonna lose without actually investing some kind of resources into keeping those resources?
I guess I'm just a little less black pilled on it. I think that if China loses all of its tentacles in those regions, I mean, what did they do for Venezuela? Nothing. You think that they're going to like sacrifice their entire world standing for Iran when they've already
They're
fallen?
not going to do it overtly.
No, but I just don't think they would. I honestly don't think they're going to do very much. It's way too much of a like they do a cost benefit analysis, and that's all cost, no benefit.
What did China do for Venezuela is a good question.
No, we don't know what they did for Venezuela. On the surface, they haven't done anything, obviously, except for write a strongly worded letter. We don't know exactly if they have done or not done anything for Venezuela, except for the things that are out in public, obviously. The thing is, Iran is like a whole different beast in comparison to Venezuela, no?
It's very different, but I just don't like it's on the tipping point. I mean, what would they do? Like, I just don't see if it collapses, I think that they're going to consider it a lost cause. They've got so little to gain from dumping more anything into there and just losing world standing to like explicitly fund terrorism. You're not even sponsoring a government, you're just sponsoring terrorism.
Yeah.
I wish I could stay longer, guys. Like I'm at work and my boss came in and that's who I was saying I'm on the phone with, but I better go to work. I wish I could chat more. Thank you so much for giving me a second to talk about this. Yeah. Thank you for covering this, Loner. Yeah, man. It means the world to anyone in the Iranian diaspora. Anyway, thanks, guys.
All good, man. Take care.
Bye-bye. I mean, look. Once again, I hope everything turns out well. I'm not sure that Trump is actually going to do anything with regards to regime change. He seems to have other interests. If they had like 2 brain cells, I suppose, they would take this opportunity to do all of the regime change stuff. I just hope that it's not gonna turn into some kind of terrorist breeding ground for the sake of the Iranians, obviously.
Shit. Okay, well, I don't see how they would ever become more of a terrorist breeding ground than they are right now. But fuck knows. All right, I'm gonna
Okay.
watch this fucking dickhead. All right,
Bye-bye.
take care, guys. But I literally have no idea where to even fucking start with this. This 2300. Oh my, what the fuck? There's literally no logic here. Like, this is nice, I guess, but there's a fucking thing in the way. Or there's that and that, and I'm like, what the fuck? What do I do with that? I can't use a pawn. Do I have to pile up pressure? Oh, like that. Maybe. Threaten queen. Boom. 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 You can't move your thing because this'll. Is that it? Is it that simple? It would be that because otherwise they can respond in whatever fucking way. No discovery or this threatens a discovered attack though, and also that to kill the defender. But this threatens a queen and a rook. So it's like choosing between this. I feel like these two moves are equal, but it's not true. One of them is fucking wrong. One of them might be losing. Fuck. Fuck. I don't know. We'll come back to it. I don't want to lose my precious. Just never make a move again. Keep my precious 2300.
There are no arrests.
Let's watch this guy.
What right does the...
This is the guy from the fucking thick of it, by the way. January 13th. So this is as the massacres are starting and as they've started to crack down on protesters.
Arrests have to determine who governs in Iran and who doesn't?
The people on the streets in their thousands who are now being slaughtered in their thousands, they are saying that your government no longer has the right to govern.
Yesterday, we saw rallies across the country, and the footage is online, and it was broadcast live, even though now people like Musk and others are trying to pretend it was AI or
No, these were people
old
who were
footage.
forced to go out and protest, but people of their own free will bravely went out, and in return, the government, your government, has slaughtered them in their thousands. And for what?
There were 2.3 million people in Tehran yesterday on the streets, and reporters from Al Jazeera English, Arabic, RT, CGTN, CCTV, and others, Al Mayadeen, were there, and they witnessed it. How
Yeah.
can you force
These are
millions of people on the streets in
Because
Tehran
you instill
and other
fear
streets?
into the people of your country. Your government instills fear into the people of your country.
I think that you are living in an alternative universe and you're drowning in your own fake narratives.
If Shiites fall, wouldn't Sunnis rush in to take anything they can? What fucking Sunnis are going to go into Iran and grab stuff? What the fuck are you talking about? What? What? These are clearly foreign Sunnis, and it wouldn't be locals because there's like 10 of them in Iran. I don't know. There might be more. Iraqis, yeah. The fucking Baathists are like, we're fed up with this. Fuck this. There's too many Shiites in this country. Let's go conquer Iran. The Kurds, yeah.
If you think that the people of Iran support the MEK terror organization or the monarchists that your governments fund and support, I think you really know literally nothing about Iran.
Your government
The
says
Iran-
that 2,000 people are dead. Are you denying that?
Our government never made any statements about any death numbers at all.
They've made statements now, though. Officials from the government have said it, not the government itself.
You're talking
It's been
about
reported
Reuters.
to Reuters.
Our government does not report to Reuters, and Reuters constantly fabricates information about Iran, and it constantly says unnamed sources.
So the
They have
bodies
a long
piling
history.
up on the streets, that's all AI, that's all fake, is it?
There are no bodies piling up on the streets.
No bodies
And by
piling
the
up on the
way-
streets. We've
and
seen them
by
with
the
our own
way-
eyes.
There were. The morgues were full. The other rooms in the hospitals were full, so they used the fucking outside of the hospital to put bodies. He's such a fucking lying freak. That's what I mean. This guy's full of shit. This guy's an actual demon. But he's not even a good demon. He's not like an impressive demon. He's like a smarmy fucking miserable, smug, lying worm cunt. Like, he's not even charming. He's not manipulative. He's nothing. He's just not successfully manipulative anyway. He's like a clown demon. He's an imp.
And no, not on the streets. I live in Tehran.
Well, in the morgues.
And by the way, so then rephrase and don't produce propaganda.
Ooh, why did she say that? Why did she concede that? It wasn't, even at the time of this interview, it wasn't just in the morgues. It was outside as well. We knew it was outside of, what the fuck?
Supposed to be a credible news outlet. 100 police officers, roughly, or officers of the law were murdered. 2 were burnt alive. 1 was beheaded. And we had a nurse burnt alive in a clinic. The clinic was burnt down and she was burnt. She was a young nurse. We had a 3-year-old kid who was shot by these rioters, or the people who you call protesters, and murdered in her father's arms. These are violent people.
Let me ask you, 26-year-old Irfan Soltani, 17-year-old Amir Ali Hidari, 28-year-old Naveed Salehi, these people have all been killed for the simple fact that they are demanding freedom and they're using their voices to demand freedom. That's the truth, isn't it?
I don't know the names that you give, and I don't know what happened to these people. I don't know if they exist or not. Just giving names doesn't mean anything.
Well,
but
they're 3 among thousands, and the executions begin tomorrow. And for what? For people wanting to use their voices to demand freedoms that you take for granted.
No, the people who will be executed, if they are convicted, are the people who burned people alive and who beheaded others. We had 100 police officers murdered, or officers of the law. And if one officer in the United States, it is deemed that the car in front of him may not be turning to the right enough, he can shoot the woman in the head, and people in the United States defend his right to kill her.
We have had 100.
That's actually one of the most contentious fucking killings in the United States history. What are you talking about? Fuck me.
Police officers. I'm talking about thousands of protesters who were protesting peacefully, and for their pains, they have been slaughtered by the government, by your government. I mean, these are people protesting because they can't eat.
This is what the only thing that they do, and this is why fucking lefties fall for this shit, or they just don't want to go hard on it. Like, they fall for it because they like to pick on America and their failures. Like, they just love going, oh, well, America, Trump did this bad thing, didn't he? They love it. Man, in the fucking hostage crisis, where's that video? I need that fucking hostage crisis. The hostage crisis in Iran in the 70s, where they kidnapped a bunch of fucking embassy workers, they did a little symbolic release of the black hostages and the women, because they're like, we care about blacks and women in Iran. Meanwhile, they're fucking murdering women for adultery at the same time with fucking clerical courts.
They can't live. Inflation is running riot. They can't get on the...
What does it tell you? America is up in flames because 2 people got killed by federal enforcement, as they should be, because federal government officers killing their own citizens is a big fucking deal. And Iran's done it to like 6,000 people now. Fuck.
Internet. You're on the internet now. They can't do that. Why shouldn't they?
Well, excuse me, but I'm at a studio. I do not have internet. You know this. So don't be dishonest. You've been dishonest more than once already. And if we have economic problems, it's because your government...
The regime shill has internet. That's crazy.
And the U.S. government have imposed sanctions on ordinary people. You are trying to strangle ordinary people. No, I'm talking. Excuse me.
No, the West is responding to the calls from the protesters who are risking their lives to go out on the street.
No,
these are Trump promised to offer help.
Well, you're aligned to Trump, obviously, now. But these are people who were rioting, and these were people who were shooting at police officers, and there's footage of it. And that footage is online. And it's on the accounts of many people, and people can see it. Mainstream media in the West, and obviously...
He has no internet. No, he does have internet. He's just saying, how could there be an internet blackout when I'm able to speak to you right now? What, this fucking guy who does the fucking spokesperson's role for the IRGC, like the #1 English-speaking dipshit from Iran who goes on fucking politics shows and talks to and defends the regime. Like the last fucking professor, he's a professor apparently, the last guy who is willing to make a fucking shit show out of himself to do these appearances.
Your media, since you are trying to create an environment for war and to justify illegal activity on behalf of your regime and the Trump regime, you're of course creating a narrative of thousands of peaceful protesters on the streets being slaughtered.
If you don't like my questions, Professor Marandi, let me put to you what the German Chancellor said. Friedrich Merz said, when a regime can only maintain power through violence, then it is effectively at its end. Do you accept your government is nearing its end? It's in the final days.
First of all, who said that I'm afraid of your questions or I don't like your questions? Second of all, who makes the German chancellor any more credible than you? The German chancellor also said when the Israeli regime, the genocidal Israeli regime, bombed Iran, while Iran was negotiating with the United States, he said, the Israelis do our dirty work for us. And this is the same German regime that gave Saddam Hussein chemical weapons to use against us.
Well, the German
Chancellor
has been elected by his people, and you accused me of propaganda when many would accuse your government of propaganda day in, day out. So I just ask you again, is your government entering its final days?
No, and have no doubt that any strike on Iran, which is illegal, and obviously you're trying to promote it and to justify it, is illegal. And the Iranian people who've come to the streets yesterday to protest against the Western and Israeli-backed riot, we all know that Pompeo, who was the former head of the CIA, said that Mossad is on the ground with the rioters. We all know that Mossad gave a Persian language statement saying that its people are on the ground in Iran. And when Iran cut off the internet, and I don't have internet either, on Friday night...
Yeah, Mossad's on the ground in Iran, watching what's happening, gathering intel, and also penetrating the absolute shit out of your retarded fucking regime. That's how they were able to have a drone factory inside Iran, where they opened it up and sent drones to go and strike IRGC targets from within your country under your fucking noses. They knew everything about where your guys were and where to get them and what they were doing when the strikes happened. That's what the Mossad are doing. You're being raped, buddy. You're being absolutely fucking mauled by Mossad, okay? That's what's happening to you. You're a little fucking snack to those guys.
After Friday, suddenly the riots collapsed. Why? Because it was they were not spontaneous. They were guided and organized from abroad, and when the internet went out, suddenly they went blind. And that's why
the protesters have been given succor from abroad because they think they have help coming. So I want to ask you, if the US attacks Iran, does Iran hit US targets in the Middle East?
No, those protesters that you were talking about, they left the scene on day 1 and 2. During the first couple of days when there were protesters about the...
You know what's funny is like every now and then Iran does try to do their own operations in Israel. You know, they do this. They occasionally will try to get usually some like disgruntled, grumpy fucking teenage or early 20s students, or maybe something like sometimes it's Jewish Israelis. It's not always Palestinians. But they'll try to get Israeli citizens to do intel work for them. But it's always just like they get caught, and the only thing they've been able to give to the regime is like some really shallow thing about, oh yeah, they moved some tanks from here to here. Like that's it. But yeah, Iran does have spies. Like every now and then there's always like the Israeli government saying, oh, we caught some guy spying for Iran. It's like, but man, they wish they could have that level of sophistication. They couldn't even kidnap that American lady, the American Iranian girl in New York.
The Iranian rial, which was carried out by the United States. And this is all a part of a broader plan. Those protesters, on the first couple of days, there was no violence. There were no arrests.
So
there were no police. There was no police involvement.
If the US attacks Iran, does Iran strike US targets in the Middle East?
So
the picture of the electrical box is my favorite. Oh, apparently they've claimed to have executed a Mossad spy just yesterday. Interesting. Iran has, I mean. Yeah, where is the... Yeah, sometimes occasionally when a double agent tries to spy for Iran in Israel, like they'll sometimes release the intel that they gathered because it was so trivial. I can't remember where to find that though. You can link it to me if you have it.
After, as I was saying, day 2, when the violent rioters entered and they started destroying ambulances and public buses and banks and clinics and destroying fire engines, that's when the protesters stepped aside and it became riot. And you call those protesters peaceful protesters who murdered 100 police officers and many, many other innocent people.
Can you answer my question about if the US attacks Iran? How does Iran respond? Will it hit US targets in the Middle East?
If the United States attacks Iran, without a doubt, Iran will strike back very hard. And remember what happened during the 12-day war. Go look at the footage from Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities. And as Steve Bannon himself said the day after the war, the real story of the 12-day war was that the Israeli regime during the last 2-3 days was hit so hard that they were seeking a ceasefire, not Iran.
Well, I mean, that's propaganda in your book, as you describe it.
Go and look at Steve Bannon's interview.
It was Steve Bannon.
Broadcast online. It's not mine.
Okay, just finally, Ayatollah Khamenei, he's an old man. It's been widely reported that he may be looking to go into exile. Would you see that as a defeat?
Well, you're just making stuff up. He's not going anywhere. And your government and the U.S. government, if they get involved in a war with Iran, global economy will go downhill and collapse. And your people will come after you and say, why did you do this to us?
Professor Mohammed Marandi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Holy shit, man. That guy is an absolute fucking nutcase. God, regime change is not, regime change is a dirty word for a good reason, okay? There are so many unforeseen or unforeseeable, there are so many unintended or unforeseeable consequences that could come out of a move like that. It's very dangerous. It's very unpredictable. It's very irresponsible, like to not know exactly, like if you don't have a good plan. And even if you do have a good plan, it can still completely fail. Even when you're regime changing, like the worst and the most unpopular of regimes like Iran. That said, nothing makes me want regime change in Iran more than to watch that guy do his fucking Piers Morgan interview after it happens. Oh God, I want to see that guy broadcasting from his fucking bunker, telling us why the fucking Hussein al-Steiner counterattack is coming at any moment now. About why it's all Israel's fault. Fuck me, that would be so funny. He's a University of Tehran. He's a professor at the University of Tehran. He wouldn't be going on. No, don't do that to me, okay? Don't spoil. I want to see him post Islamic Republic, trying to get through life, trying to do his Piers Morgan Piers Morgan will play a clip of him saying, the regime's not going anywhere. Were you wrong? Professor, will you admit you were wrong? Fuck me. And then he just cries and kills himself. Fuck. And then shits himself after dying, because that happens apparently. Subscribe, you fucking assholes. I mean, sorry.